to see how effectively I can... Moderation keeps... The notification that literally just said moderation keeps everyone safe made me swear within the first 15 seconds of the stream. But this is just a test to see if it works and see if it shows up on the page. I'm curious to see if anybody pops in. So obviously right now it's a very low base that we have, but we're going to be aiming to get it to about the 100 viewers averaging per stream mark, because when I head to India I want to be able to be able to make really explosive live streams, and I want to be able to have that audience which is going to be responsive to that. It's actually really incredible right now, the surroundings I'm in. But yeah, if you just feel like you don't really know what's coming, or you're confused about what we're doing here, or have any potential ideas for how we could go ahead, I think like right now it's hard for me to envision exactly how this feature is going to affect like the whole scale of the venture, just because right now I don't really know how actually to grow effectively as a streamer. I've not tested it. Obviously I've witnessed others that have done so, but I've not tested it myself and have enough of an understanding of how to effectively do that, because what I've done so far is just shorts content, which is very easy to make very explosive content. I think with a stream, being able to maintain people over a long time, especially once I actually do get that traffic coming in and I do promote it from my other page, I think it will be pretty challenging to actually identify ways that I can keep that going through and allow other people beyond just the Instagram audience to find it enjoyable as well. So when I did a live stream on Instagram, I was only able to maintain about 50, and sometimes below that I was going to like 30 or even 20 recurring viewers throughout an hour and a half stream, which is fine, that's nice, but it's really not close to where I want to be aiming towards getting for when I'm in India, when I'm in these crazy places. I think if I'm going to be investing into streaming for the entire time, I definitely want to aim for about 100 people. So right now, if there's one person joined, if you're watching right now, man, you're the first person to see a live stream on this channel. I'm literally testing out this feature because I'm going to go to India soon. I'm going to be streaming live from India. So you'll see me playing bagpipes, interrupting the public, and or probably not even India. I'm saying India as a general... Shit. We already lost our one person. But I'm going to head to probably Africa first is the plan. So I'll go to Africa, go to Tanzania, I'm going to go to Rhodesia, going to go to Uganda, going to test out a lot of these places, Rwanda as well, and play bagpipes in these sort of insane locations. I think it will be really, really mental to actually have people there with me all the time, because we could interact. So I'll have like a speaker with me, so that if somebody puts through a donation as well, then that will come out on the speaker. Obviously these are all things I need to invest in, so to make that worth my time, I'd like people to be there and be present and be interacting. So just testing right now what it's like to actually try and entertain an audience for a period of time, because I think when I'm going to be live, there's going to be periods where I can't even like do anything, right? I'm just waiting. So I've got to try and keep the audience going and keep speaking in a way that's actually entertaining to them. I think it's pretty hard, because in shorts it's just fine. I just edit it later and I make sure there's pretty much a cut every few seconds or something really exciting going on the whole entire time. Because I'm going to be going to Africa. I'm going to be live streaming from Rwanda and Rhodesia, from Uganda with Isaac Nabwana, the filmmaker who makes Wakaliwood, the mental African films. I don't know if you've heard of Wakaliwood, but it's just these sort of insane levels of really low budget visual effects, but really, really high energy performances. And they just have so many people getting involved in these crazy. I think if I was playing people with guns and people with, I don't know, helicopters, in an effective way that I can really tell a story about the interaction between those two things. And I think definitely whatever story that is, I want it to be more about a singular thing and not about a political invention. So more of a sort of statement about how, God, this is hard to put that into piece, but more of a statement about tradition and about culture and about how we can embrace that in the modern day, and less like trying to associate myself too much with any particular political group, because I think that's been a big issue lately. Obviously, there's been a significant amount of far-right, alt-right attention on everything I've been doing, and I think really the story that I want to tell is not a story that appeals to an alt-right audience, okay? That's not what it's about. It's not about one political aspect. It's not about one political story. It's about a broad cultural story, about heritage, about optimizing, a really special and beautiful culture for the modern day, and showing off my instrument and my colours, my clothing, but then finding ways I can engage with other people that are actually promoting their own cultures, because I think to travel around Europe and find different cultures within Europe that are really keeping these traditions alive is really, really important, because right now in the whole world we've got this strange attitude where people want to say that white people have no culture, and that when you go to Europe, I mean, if you look at the concentration of tourism in Europe compared to most countries around the world, it's just insane that somebody could think that way. And that's what I really want to prove. I really want to show people live exactly what's being created, exactly why it's so important that we don't denounce the importance of that culture, because when we do, when we say that this doesn't matter, that's when we lose it. Even if we still have it there, but don't acknowledge its importance, we're already losing it. And that's quite sad for someone to see, who obviously is an upholder of that, is trying to do things to keep that alive. So I would definitely, I'm very committed to finding ways that I can continue to promote this message other than just being in Africa and, playing bagpipes in these disgusting or extremely absurd places. I want to actually show a lot more of people that are showing a really positive side of things. Europeans are so important. They've committed so much to the world beyond just colonization, which is such a simplified way to look at it. We really have done so many great things. And I think if we just simplify it to such a negative, bland idea of, white people just eat fish and chips all the time and they don't use enough flavor in their food, then we're actually missing out on so much of what makes these countries great. Like, if you want to talk about what the fall of the world looks like, it's something that's very gentle, it's very slow, and it's very sad. And we definitely need to find a way that we can say this is a very, very, very valuable thing, because being able to dive into the intricacies, and find people that are actually putting a lot of effort into upholding these really unique aspects of these cultures, it's going to be super useful to actually find a way that we can, continue telling that story and bringing it on. One of the things I want to do, is find artists. Another thing is find people that are crafts makers, using their hands, using their past, using their grandparents' stories, all of these things to really make, not necessarily people that are making a statement, but use their craftsmanship to tell that statement, and their artistry to tell that statement, to make people aware of what this is and what this history is. I think a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, well, you're trying to colonize us. You're trying to force your culture down on us. And yeah, I'm trying to force my culture down on you. And I'm trying to force their cultures down on you. But that doesn't mean that I'm trying to colonize you or trying to steal your money. I think, we can acknowledge our colonial past. In the UK, we just try and act as if our colonial past didn't even exist. It matters a lot that we can understand why it was there. Maybe also what the strengths of it are, rather than just saying this thing was evil and terrible and helps nobody, but also finding ways that we can say, wow, this actually really benefited people. This was actually really pretty great for a lot of things, even though there was these horrific atrocities, war crimes, slavery associated. it also ended slavery. We're talking about a movement that literally ends slavery around most of the world. So if you look up William Wilberforce and what he did, if you look up the Christian organizations, because by the way, it was science that said that we should try and, consider these people as below us. It was scientists that said apartheid was factual, and it was actually, what is it? Some cool little animal there. It was literally the Christians at the time that were saying, well, we need to have some sort of level of equalness here. What's going on with these people is not fair, and we can't treat them as below us. And understanding how those Christian factions within the empire actually helped a lot of countries in a lot of ways can be very, very valuable. It's really sad now. I know so many people in my own country who grow up being completely ashamed of where they come from. And they'll say things like, if you're from India, or you're from an African country, you're from basically somewhere that they consider to be oppressed, and therefore wouldn't want to live there, by the way, then you should be proud of your culture. But outside of that, they think that it's not important, not valuable, and not worth it in any way, which is really upsetting to see. I think we need to consider ways which these kinds of individuals are being indoctrinated by our system, because our school system is really appalling. If you want to blame anything for the rise of somebody like Andrew Tate, you can blame our school system, our education system. It pisses me off that when you go on the BBC, they're trying to say we need to shame young men more, and that's what's going to direct them away from characters such as Tate. No, shaming them is what created the interest in Tate, okay? There's a billion people on the internet with a billion different voices. The reason that he's popular is very, very, very simple. It's because there was a very big demand for it, because people made young boys feel ashamed for who they were. And Andrew Tate came out there and he said, look, now there's a space where you can actually say something that matters. You can make an impact on the world, you can accumulate wealth, and people will respect you. And also, most importantly, the thing which makes young men feel the most secure in themselves, they can actually have the ability to get women, as Andrew Tate would say. And the fact that all these ridiculously lonely men were in that position in the first place is not being acknowledged as a primary issue here, and that instead is that some guy is talking about it and actually helping them, is just absurd. Thank you. Sorry, I'm walking across roads right now. I think, if we can have much more of a reforming attitude to say, how can we actually promote strength in our country? How can we look within our country and say, these are our strengths in the past, let's continue these. And these are also the strengths in young men. Because young boys, if you tell them that they're going to struggle, they need to struggle, then they need to embrace that, and that will lead them to an award. Then they're going to work so much harder than if you continue to force this narrative on them, this bullshit, which is that basically you're being treated the exact same as a girl the whole time. You're being told to sit down, you're told to be quiet, and you're told to be nice. They want you to be a nice person and get a nice job and settle down. Being nice is not what men want to be, or will hear and be proud that is something around them. It's not something that's going to make them happy in life either. Being nice is great, contributing to other people is great. I think nothing really can make you feel as wholesome inside as actually helping out other people. At the same time, I think if that is your primary goal and the primary thing which you give out, and obviously I can't guarantee that every single school teacher around the UK and similar countries is going to be giving out that similar opinion, but it's certainly what I find was experience which I had growing up, and I know it's what a lot of other people in the UK and in Scotland had. If we continue to purport that narrative, and we continue to say that ultimately you need to be more nice in order to show more, to contribute more to society and be happier, then you're going to see so much damn misery. You're going to see so many people who feel then they can't. They say that's because all the guys are nice, which is also bullshit, because, well, of course they want somebody that's going to be nice, but they don't want somebody that's going to be just useless or doesn't contribute at all, is a little bit pathetic, or doesn't actually do much for the world. They're not going to like that. So Anyway, I'm going into specifics. The overall thing I want to communicate here is I'm heading to Africa. I'm heading to Rwanda. I'm heading to Tanzania. I'm heading to Uganda. I'm probably going to do Rhodesia. I'm probably going to do a lot of similar places. But I think it's really important that we understand why this is important, why we tell this story and why we do it in the powerful and proud sort of way that I do. British people need to understand that we can't be quite as British anymore if we want to be entirely or even slightly British in the future. You know, I'm saying British, I'm saying European. I think this applies to a lot of people beyond just Scottish culture, okay? That's why I'm not just saying Scottish culture when I wave my flag and play my bagpipes, okay? I'm saying British, I'm saying European. It doesn't mean I don't want independence. It doesn't mean I want Brexit or any of these things. It's just about simple fact that we need to be proud of our culture. We need to be proud of our history. And the moment that we lose that, it's going to be very, very dangerous. That's why we need to find a way that we can say, you know, Stephen Fry said it best. Stephen Fry was the one who said, it's a very, very un-British thing to try and say that, to stand up, to put your flag up and to say, I'm proud to be British. I'm proud to be Scottish. I'm proud to be Irish. I'm proud to be Welsh. I'm proud to be whatever. Okay, I can tell you I have grandparents that are from all of those categories, right? But almost none of them would want to do what I do. And they would still find it rather embarrassing what I do. You know, my family doesn't think that what I do is necessarily the best way to deal with this. But my view, especially from traveling the world and seeing a lot of these places which people are coming from to go to the UK, I think it's really, really necessary that we get rid of that old attitude. Because that old attitude where we say, these things are not important, these things don't matter, and we try and use irony and satire and we play everything down. We're so calm all the time. Oh, you know, Brits love calmness, you know, showing how relaxed we are. But then what does that actually do for really actually keeping what we do strong? Because that's been able to keep us at threat for a long time. When adversarial forces came to our doors with spears and swords and shields, it's very different, because at that point, you know, you can imagine it's pretty unlikely that we're not going to pick up arms and fight. And now that we've pushed back a lot more and the fight is coming to our doorstep in a very, very different way, we feel embarrassed to speak up or to be loud or to be exact about what exactly we stand for. And people aren't going to feel like we're at war. We're just going to lose. We're just going to lose if most people don't feel angry. They don't sort of see that something is askew. This is something that's going to continually increase. Now, I don't think we're going to lose, because I actually have a lot of faith in my people, in my brothers in Scotland, in England, in Wales, in Ireland, whether we split from them or not, in all of Europe, you know, the Scandinavians, the Western Europeans from France, from Germany. These people, I don't really believe that they're going to stand for it. I'm not that pessimistic. Things are going to get worse. They're going to get more extreme. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, though, to understand things as soon as possible, for people to have a positive narrative that they can cling to as well. It's not about hatred. It's not about racism. It's not about xenophobia. It's very, very simple. This is about our culture. It's about something very, very beautiful and very, very special that we don't want to lose. And the moment we stop acknowledging the beauty of it and the importance of it and the history that we have, which is a shared history in many senses across a lot of these European countries, the moment we lose something very, very valuable and very, very important. I really dearly hope that we can find an effective way to just